Racial justice is one of the issues that we chose, and Pastor Janet Goodman Banks, I'd like to introduce her. She's the former executive director of Reach Out Christian Center. She grew up in the Baptist Church and the Church of God in Christ, and she's been an ordained pastor since 2008. She's also a social justice activist, advocate, activist, and a voice for the voiceless. And if you look her up on Google or Facebook, yeah, it's a pretty fast. She has a bachelor's degree in biology and has been a licensed practical nurse for over 38 years. So if anybody gets injured, we're cut. No. She presently attends Bryan College of Health Sciences and is a junior there in the BSN program. Okay, of nursing. She won numerous awards for advocacy and activism. She has advocated here in Nebraska and in our national capital. She's the president of Lincoln's Women March, the former second associate chair of the Nebraska Democratic Party, a former national delegate to the Democratic Convention 3 times, twice for former President Barack Obama and once for Bernie Sanders. She also is the chair of the Nebraska Democratic Party's Black Caucus. She's been on many advisory boards. She's a recent past member of the Star Tran Advisory Board and presently sits on the Keno and Mayor's Multicultural Advisory Committee. She lends her voice, professional, and life experiences to each board committee. You can always find Pastor Janet listening to the hearts and minds of people who need someone to hear them. Pastor Janet prides herself on being a good listener, providing encouragement, spiritual care, and being a prayer warrior. She also gives great hugs. Ms. Goodman.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for coming, and it's an honor to be here. I have the pleasure of talking about some bills that are before our legislature here in Nebraska. One of the main ones that I will be speaking on is that involving natural hair. And that bill is LB 451. So that is the one that is that has been introduced by Senator Terrell McKinney out of Omaha, North O as they say. So I'll be speaking more on that topic and maybe trying to hit some others along the way. As far as natural hair regarding Black women or the Black community, I wanted to go to the Bible first regarding 1 Corinthians 11 and 15. For us, for women, period, it's a covering. Hair is a covering and it's their glory. The Bible speaks on that. So in the Black community, our hair is part of our adornment. It is so rich of a image for us in our community. So let me say this first and foremost before I dive into some of the things I like to discuss. When you see African American women with braids in their hair, I know it's exciting and you relish the beauty of it, but please, please, please do not, I'm going to repeat, do not touch their hair. Do not touch a Black woman's hair.
I wouldn't touch any woman's hair.
No. That is a no-no. And I know that a lot of people are intrigued by the art of it, but always, always ask if it's okay if I can touch your hair. And usually the answer is yes. But if you just go ahead and do it, it's almost like a violation to them. So I wanted to say that up front and make sure that if you don't remember anything else I say, remember that. Please ask permission to touch a Black woman's hair, braid, straight, whatever. It's usually the braids that intrigue so many others. So anyway, I wanted to just throw that scripture out, 1 Corinthians 11 and 15. but I wanted to say that for a lot of Black women, we don't know why this was an issue in the first place regarding our hair. It's natural for us to wear it this way. I know growing up back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s, I was born in the 50s, but grew up in the 60s as well. The beauty image was always white women with straight hair. You saw it in the commercials back in the day, the dippity-doo, the pearl. Some of you are too young to understand those hair products, but were they there?
Yes.
They were there. And the cover girls were all white. You didn't see any black and brown women being portrayed as beauty back then. But to us, it was something that we always knew was beautiful. And we had to grow into that image of knowing ourselves. It took several years, I know, for me and others growing up back then to embrace our natural beauty. And I know that, let me give you a little history on this Tegan law that was made in Louisiana back in the day. And I got this post from Vintage Art Times. And it states, did you know that it was once against the law for Black women to show their hair in public?
Oh my.
In 1786, the Tignon Law, established in Louisiana, as I stated, and adopted by other states, ordered women of color to cover their hair with a head wrap called a tignon. The tignon was intended to signify that Black women were not equal to their European counterparts. It was believed the beautiful and elaborate hairdos and braids that were even adorned with jewels and feathers worn by Black women became offensive and threatening to the social stability of that time. Sounds familiar? And as always, in Black Girl Magic fashion, that's a group here on Facebook, we started to tie the tignon in elaborate ways, using beautiful fabrics. Okay, using beautiful fabrics and patterns, making it a part of our identity that you still see today.
Yes.
What was intended to suppress our unique beauty was used to make us that much more alluring, highlighting our uniqueness even more without the knowledge of the past. History is doomed to repeat itself again. And that's why we even see it now, even in Nebraska, that this law has to be brought up just for Black women and men to be able to wear braids, even in the workplace. Like I said, I've been a nurse for over 30 years, and I know back in the day, I believe it was the 80s, early 80s, there were a number of Black women nurses that were wearing braids to work, and those facilities deemed that their hair was inappropriate and asked them not to wear braids. But you have to understand there's always a nursing shortage, right? And those women band together to say, no, we will not change our hair. And so it kind of died. They were not held, they were not reprimanded as they were threatened earlier to change their hairstyles. But here we are in 2023, and we still have this issue about the texture and the image of Black hair, when it does not take away from our knowledge of delivering care or services. It doesn't take away from that, so why would it be an issue? I want to read, you may have heard of her, Michelle Obama. Maybe you've heard of her. She had wrote something here that I thought was very interesting regarding the subject of black hair or natural hair. Michelle Obama opens up about not wearing braids in the White House because she felt Americans were not ready to see her natural hair. Isn't that something? Even a former First Lady had to deal with that. The former First Lady recently sat with Ellen DeGeneres to promote her newest book, The Light We Carry, Overcoming in Uncertain Times. During the interview, she touched on her stay in the White House and explained why she opted out of wearing her hair in its natural state or protective styles. You know, as a First Lady, I did not wear braids, she continued. Being the first black, we had to ease up on the people. Because I thought about it. I was like, it would be easier. Nope, they're not ready.
Never will be.
And it's just something that, as a black woman and people in the black community, just need to do. You know, it's like hide and seek. Ready or not, here we come. It's just like Jesus. Ready or not, he's coming. All right. A CNN reporter also discussed Obama's statement and how relatable Obama's experience had been to a lot of black women who had to choose a more presentable look rather than their natural curls in corporate environments. Champion stated, much like what Michelle Obama said, she was like the administration isn't ready. Really? So sad. It really is, she continued. I've literally taken my hair off in the makeup room at work, and you can see everyone look like, wait, what's happening? It's almost as if they're shocked, like in disbelief. You know, my hair is different than yours. She took off her wig and showed her natural hair, and they were in awe. They were like, what is that? Like it's gonna jump out and bite you. Somebody's hair, you know? For Black History Month, which we are in,
Yes.
we asked community members and veteran legislative liaisons, Ebony Jean, to share a series of posts about her hair loss from an African American perspective. This is what she stated, discusses the Crown Act, and that is I believe a federal act as well that was passed. For Black History Month, let's see, in 2019, Dove and the Crown Coalition created the Crown Act in partnership with former California State Senator Holly J. Mitchell. The purpose is to end hair discrimination and ensure protection towards race-based hairstyles in schools and in workplace. CROWN stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. Hair discrimination happens as early as age 5. For a long time, Black hair has been considered messy and unprofessional in the United States. According to the Crown Act, Black women are 1.5 times more likely to be sent home from work due to wearing protective hairstyles, braids, locks, twists, or Bantu knots. In addition, school officials have suspended Black girls because of their hair. From previous experience, teachers tried suspending me, meaning her, for wearing a natural headband wig to school. Growing up in a culture where hair is praised and considered our crown and glory, it was difficult adjusting to bald life. Although I am bald, I have experienced hair discrimination. But at the time of wearing wigs during my pageant season, one summer I wore a curly afro wig and was told to change my hair before competition night because it was too poofy. I had to change my hair to fit in the pageant queen image. And I know there was a story, I believe it was last year, where a little black girl was attending a private school, a Christian school, where she was suspended because she wore braids. And she was told that braids in a Christian school, this wasn't a public school, where she had to wear her hair straight. And so I believe that their family took their case and made it legal against the school. So, have any of you had any conversations with anyone, any black and brown people regarding their braids or their knots, their twists? Has anyone shared any information with you?
Sure.
Can you share that with us?
I've had lots and lots of conversations. I have lots of African American family friends that I spend time with, so I'm around that discussion all the time. You know, when my friend Noah wears herself another wig that is just absolutely beautiful when she's up singing, it's always a crown of glory for her. And my best friend, we've always had discussions. She wants to go into braids and then she wants to go natural, and it's always wonderful discussions about that. So I'm very privileged and lucky to have been close to those discussions and been there when someone wanted to touch her hair. So it's like, and it's usually me that says.
Right. Right. I was gonna say, did you guard her? Did you?
Yes.
And that's
I have a job.
Yes, and you do. And I want to say that. So now that you know, be that person that would step up for an African American or brown person that has curly hair or braids or twists. We need you to step up and say, excuse me, no, that's not appropriate. Do you mind asking her if that's okay? That's a form of activism as well. Okay? Sure.
I taught first grade and kindergarten for 42 years and dealt with a lot of kids. And I never had, with the little ones, I never had an issue anywhere with, the hair. But one time, this little girl was so gorgeous. I didn't realize she had extensions and one fell off. And I was mortified. I thought she'd cut her hair. Oh no, we're going to tell the mother. And I was like, it's okay, it's just an extension. I was like, oh good.
Yes.
That was a learning experience for me.
Okay, and I'm glad that you had that experience. And let me just take it a little further. Some women, wear extensions. Some wear weaves. That's when they sew the hair in. And let me just share this with you. When you see the different textures and styles of braids and locks, please do not ask a black woman if that's her hair. Please, because she bought it and she feel like it's hers. So if the lock comes off, she picks it back up and put it back on. And so, if you see it and you admire it, just admire it. Please don't ask them if it's their hair, because that's kind of offensive as well. They feel like they purchased it, so it's theirs.
And we have a lot of white people who have stolen the ways of dress and hair from the African American community. So
Yes. Do you remember or recall that movie? Some of you may, with it was called 10, and it was with Bo
Bo Derek.
Derek.
Bo Derek. And did she not wear braids in that movie?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So you're right about that.
And I've also witnessed administration not telling people of color to not wear hats at the office, to not wear their hair a particular way, and it's just that white privilege of being able to judge the other as less than. Not good, not good.
That's absolutely true. And so, like I said, oh, great.
Yeah, is this same true for men?
I need you all to speak up, and if you
Okay.
can, stand up because they're recording, and so that other people can hear your awesome questions.
I have a lap full, so I'm not gonna stand up.
Okay,
Is the same true for black men?
it
We've
is.
just been talking about women
It is.
predominantly, but that's, I
It
would think
is.
so.
It is. Yes.
You referred to braids as protective.
Mhm.
Can you explain that, please?
I can. I remember growing up with perms, and I know some of you all maybe still perm your hair. Back in the day, it was really popular. First, it was the straightening comb. We had that comb that you put on a burner, and it gets real hot. To me, I told my mom that was a form of child abuse. I don't care. I don't care about Easter trying to look pretty. Let me just wear my natural hair, and it was just not acceptable. No, you have to get your hair pressed. And I still to this day feel like that straightening comb is a form of child abuse. But anyway, with that said, then they came out with the permanents for black people. And they had the lie in them and everything else. And I remember getting the perms as a teenager and young adult. And what they found now, I'm also a 13-year breast cancer survivor.
Right.
And thank you. What they have found now, a connection to the hair care products that we have been using all along, including those perms, they had paraben in them. And paraben is linked to breast cancer in African American women.
Oh my.
Yes, for all those years. So that was a big decision too, that why you see more and more black people, especially women, wearing the natural hair, because we now know that that was detrimental to us. And the protective part is just wearing it natural. Washing it and drying it and using all the moisturizers, and you see the results. You all admire the results in the braids and the twists and the locks. Someone had their hand up.
I just wanted to
Speak loud.
comment. The reason that we're here is to learn about the bills that could affect people's lives in a positive way, hopefully. And senators don't always get letters from people. And if all of us actually took time to contact our senators and say how important this bill is, because they could seem like it's not anything. I mean, there's bills that seem to be a waste of time, and there are things that are a waste of time. This is not a waste of time. And so, I just had so much fun hearing all of this historical thing about the black hair that I really wasn't aware of in the past. So
Thank you for
been very
stating
helpful.
that. That's why I said we need you all to be activists and advocates for us regarding this bill. I think I saw your hand first.
Okay, maybe I'm the only one in the room that's not familiar with this bill. What exactly protects natural hair in all case? I mean, could you kind of go over the
I
bill?
believe that the bill is stating that black people should be allowed to wear their natural hair in any environment, whether it's school, employment, wherever, that it mimics the Crown Act, that federal bill that Congress had passed, that we should be able to wear our hair and should not be discriminated against. No action should be taken against any black or brown person that wear their hair naturally in any environment.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That was my question.
Don't you think it is important to include everybody in this maybe a rechanging of our attitudes, but there are a lot of other minorities who have probably experienced some of the same divisions because, like a Native American, they wear their hair longer than a lot of people do. But shouldn't we include everybody? Shouldn't we respect whether they're whatever ethnicity they are? Shouldn't we respect everybody's ethnicity?
We should. There are Muslim women that wear that
Yes.
hijab, and for a long time, they couldn't work in public places because of that. You see them now everywhere, and they are allowed to wear that, and they should. And there are, when I say black and brown people, there are people that are African American and part Hispanic, that have that texture of hair. So,
Well, that's why I'm asking. I have thought several times that if there's anything wrong with this bill, it's because it doesn't really affirm that it should be inclusive, everybody, not just African American.
okay, well.
I don't know exactly how the bill is worded this year, but it's come up several times, but
I think, I understand what you're saying. I think the bill is targeting the black community because they're probably, I'm sure, discriminated
Sure.
more,
Right.
than the other minority communities that
Well,
you're
and the
speaking
numbers
of.
are there.
Yes, and so with Senator McKinney being a black man, he's advocating for his community.
Sure.
And it's not that it's wrong, but I understand what you're saying, be more inclusive. So you just hope that if they understand that this is not right for this community, it's not right for any other community as well. We would hope.
You'd think they would understand.
We
that.
would think that they understand, but trust me,
Can't take anything for granted.
I understand, but trust me, Senator McKinney and Senator Justin Wayne, they are fighters. And if they have to go back and do anything else to this bill, they will. And if the bill gets passed as it is, trust me, if any other minority community comes to them, they will go to bat on their behalf.
Good.
Yes.
That's related to what I was thinking.
Yes.
I don't think it would hurt to send Senator McKinney a note that, because as a white male, and I give thanks I'm sitting next to somebody else with long hair, I visited a former high school teacher of mine when he was still living. He and his wife were in Papillion, and I went over and visited, and Mrs. Abernathy looked at me, and finally she got brave and said, "Michael, what's the deal with that long hair?" And I said, when Mr. Abernathy was assistant principal and Mr. Bettenhausen was superintendent, I could not wear my hair like this.
Okay.
When I was in the United States Navy, I could not wear my hair like this. Now I can, and I will.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Yes. I think I see another hand.
Could you repeat what CROWN stands for? I got
Yes.
as much as creating a respectful and world.
I will have to go back here. If I can't find it readily, I will give it to
I
you
can Google
afterwards.
it too. I just thought if you
Yes.
had it there.
No, I don't have it readily in
Okay,
front of me.
that's fine.
Does anyone else have a question?
Do you have the letters?
Yes, CRE,
CRE.
respectful.
And blah, world blah.
Let's see. Creating a respectful and open world for
Okay.
natural hair.
Thank
An
you.
open world, okay.
Creating a respectful and open world for natural hair.
Thank
So,
Okay.
don't you think that's inclusive? An open world?
To me, it is, but
Still, I
but
understand.
when we talk about it being only applying to African American hair, then that divides us again. You know what I mean?
I understand, and I agree. If you want to send Senator McKinney a letter or a note saying that we support your bill, but could you, add a little more to make it be more inclusive? He's a wonderful young man, and he's a young Ernie Chambers. Trust me, he really is. If you haven't seen him in action, he really is, and he represents North Oak very, very well. Former State Senator Ernie Chambers endorsed him to take his spot, so you know that he has to be a warrior. Yes.
Sounds like this bill is a great first step, and it could be followed up in a different year to make another bill so that it applies to all people, but I think it's such a burning issue for African Americans that for white people to get little bits that keep trying to change it, can be very disheartening.
Right, it could. Sure.
I think that what we are missing or are thinking and not saying is that the issue is white privilege that allows us to be judgmental of others and see others as less than.
That's right.
Okay, and so when we start to implement anything that has to this awareness, like why are we all sitting here not aware of what is obvious? I should not be looking at person of color and judging her hair or her color or her outfit any more than I should at you and you and you and you. It's our culture of how we've been raised, is how we have gathered here as all white people in this space. And we are the victims and the carriers of this disease. And we need to get white racism out of our space.
Here.
Very well stated. Very well stated. I loved what you said, and I loved what you said as well, that, I'm sure they were thinking that this is a first step, but they have no trouble in furthering it for any marginalized community. So I applaud them for bringing it up. You would think in this day and time that it's still not a problem, but it is. I'm sure that if you've been in the hospital lately regarding what we've been through with COVID and the nurses, which I am one, they are wearing different headdresses. So don't be surprised if you see an African American woman wearing African American patterns of those headdresses, and nothing should be said or done because white nurses are wearing headdresses. So if someone wants to wear a headdress of their ethnicity, it should be allowed. I do know I've seen Muslim nurses wearing their beads, and so I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see them in the workplaces like Penny's or different, stores where they're allowed to wear those adornments.
Just a comment on what you said. I totally agree with that. And I think that as people in different environments, one of the things that we advocate at the legislature, but we can also advocate in our local environment, whether it's school dress codes. I mean, people are wanting to control our schools right now, which is another subject, but they're gonna jump all over this bill because they're not gonna tell us what to do, and then they make a big deal. And I believe it was maybe a podcast, but it was Michelle Obama. And one of the frustrations is not just judging her hair. She had a lot of really important things to get done.
Yes.
And yet they wanted to focus on her hair.
Yes.
And not listen to these other issues. So I think it's really important to write and to be there for the legislative process, but it's also important in your own little world.
I'm so appreciative. I'm so grateful to everyone here that chose to come to this little session to be educated on our adornment, how we feel it's part of who we are, and willing to listen and advocate for that bill in its form as it is right now. You can put the note in there, but I do think that it's a start, and that I know Senator McKinney will appreciate hearing from every last one of you.
Yes.
I know he will. He is such a nice and good person. Don't let that soft-spoken little voice in the beginning fool you. Don't let that fool you. But he is for the people, and I'm glad that he brought this up on behalf of the Black community.
Do we know where the bill is in the unicameral? Has there been a hearing on it? I should know, and I don't know right off.
I don't know right offhand. I think there has been a hearing on it. I do.
What is the number again?
I think it's 451.
451.
Okay, because I'm looking it up and that's not the number.
451?
Yeah.
451 was passed in 2021.
Yeah.
And
So it's
somebody
the
approved
so it's
it.
passed. So it's not even at a place for. It's going on to the
Right,
on
so
the
it must
floor.
be a different number if it's
Yeah.
in the current
That was
session.
the workplace.
Yeah.
I looked at it just not to.
Yeah.
That was the workplace, ruling.
Okay.
That's what it was.
So there might be a new bill.
There might be a new bill.
Well, look them up, yeah.
If you go to the legislature, Nebraska legislature,
Right.
and just type in the bill or go to Senator McKinney's, it's all the bills that he has introduced. Although it's not all, Justin Wayne also, you can look at his, Kavanaugh has, anyway, there are a number of good bills. And they've changed, just as education, the way that you can submit written testimony. You have to do it in their form, and they send you an email and you have to confirm it. You can't just email
But it's not difficult.
it is not difficult at all, it's just a different process, so, yeah, it's not hard.
But the one thing I want to add, I tend to do things really fast, and I was on my way out the door, and I got 2 quick letters just in time by 12 o'clock to send them to get included in the hearing. And I found out that they then email you back, and you have to click on it. I turned off the computer as soon as I sent them, went on my way, and it was 3 days before I ever got back to the computer, and so my testimony, did not get included because I didn't realize I had to click on it. So I gotta somehow copy that and just take it into senators. But so make sure that you confirm if
Can you
you've done
stand up and say that part again? Make sure that yes.
Yeah, so you can do a comment online, and after you send it, it might take a minute or two, but you have to go into your email, and they're going to send you a letter back, and you got to confirm and link on it that you are the person who sent that email. And as I said, I was in a hurry. My first testimonies for the year, it was like 12 o'clock was the deadline. I finished at 11:57. Turned off the computer and headed on my way, and it was 3 days later before I realized they didn't count. So.
Well, I just want to thank you all for having me. There are other bills too that are up in the legislature that you can go and look at and see if you would feel comfortable writing a letter on behalf of those bills. It was my pleasure to be here. I hope I can come back again, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
I have a brief, I feel like this was brought to you by Marita, who did the service. This last summer, she went on it's the Black Votes Matter tour. Preston Love organizes this. My wife and I went on it in 2019, and it's a bus tour, and they visit Memphis, Jackson, Birmingham, Selma, Montgomery, and Atlanta. And it's eye-opening. And they encourage adults to go. This is the brochure for youth, and for youth it's free, but youth or adults pay. And so if you're interested in this at all, I'll be glad to give you either of these flyers. And it is a amazing education on Black history. So and you will be immersed with people of color, so it's not a bustle of white people.
My life lesson that I learned when I was in retail was that God sent me to St. Louis, where I was the only white person in the grocery store. My staff was 99% black and my customers were 99% black. And it was indeed my staff that took care of me there.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I live in North Omaha. McKinney
Yeah.
is my, and we moved there 40 years ago, and 2 white kids from central Nebraska, and there were a couple of black matriarchs who adopted us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they took
And
care of me.
really, and helped us.
Yeah.
Because we just did, we didn't do mean things, we just did stupid things.
You didn't know.
What do you mean?
Mhm.
So, anyway,
And if you wanna take a shorter trip, Preston he has a wonderful little
Yes.
bus, and he'll take you out to North Omaha and tell you the history, and it'll just delight you.
Yeah.
So,
It's really good.
anyway, thank you very much. Your next workshop begins in 10 minutes or so, so